Back in the 1980s, high school movies weren't just about parties and popularity. Sometimes, they were about feeling completely lost. The Breakfast Club wasn't some huge action movie with explosions or special effects. It was just 5 teenagers stuck in detention on a Saturday. But somehow, it became one of the most relatable movies ever made. Because underneath all the jokes and awkward moments, the movie talked about pressure, loneliness, parents who didn't understand their kids, and teenagers trying to figure out who they really were. Every character felt real, like somebody you actually knew in school. And honestly, that's why people still connect with this movie decades later. But while the film became a legendary part of 80s culture, the real lives of the cast were far more complicated than fans ever imagined. Some became massive stars, some struggled with addiction and mental health, and some spent years trying to escape the labels Hollywood gave them. This is The Breakfast Club, Then and Now. Emilio Estevez. Born May 12, 1962, in New York City, USA. As Andrew Clark, Emilio Estevez played the popular high school wrestler who looked confident on the outside but felt trapped by pressure from his father. Andrew wasn't just the cool athlete stereotype, he was a kid terrified of disappointing people. That emotional conflict made audiences connect deeply with him. During the 1980s, Estevez became one of the biggest members of the famous Brat Pack, starring in multiple youth classics. But unlike many actors chasing non-stop fame, he eventually stepped away from the Hollywood spotlight and focused more on directing and personal projects. Over time, he became known as one of the more private and grounded stars of his generation. From playing the golden boy athlete everybody admired, to choosing a quieter life away from celebrity culture. Molly Ringwald. Born February 18, 1968, in Roseville, California, USA. As Claire Standish, Molly Ringwald became the ultimate 80s teen icon. Claire seemed like the rich and popular girl who had everything, but underneath the makeup and confidence was someone deeply lonely and emotionally exhausted by expectations. Ringwald's natural performance made Claire feel human instead of superficial. After the movie, she became one of the most recognizable actresses of the entire decade through films like 16 Candles and Pretty in Pink. But being labeled the perfect 80s teen girl also became limiting. As Hollywood changed, Ringwald struggled with the pressure of growing older in an industry obsessed with youth. Instead of desperately holding on to fame, she reinvented herself through writing, theater, and independent projects. From America's favorite teenage princess, to a thoughtful artist redefining herself over time. Judd Nelson. Born November 28, 1959, in Portland, Maine, USA. As John Bender, Judd Nelson created one of the most unforgettable rebels in movie history. Bender was sarcastic, angry, reckless, and constantly pushing people away, but underneath all that attitude was pain, abuse, and loneliness. A lot of teenagers saw themselves in him because he felt real. Nelson's performance became the emotional core of the movie, and his chemistry with the rest of the cast helped make the film iconic. After the 80s, though, Nelson struggled to maintain the same level of fame as some of his co-stars. Hollywood often trapped him in the bad boy image that made him famous. Even so, he continued acting steadily in films, television, and voice work for decades. From detention's biggest troublemaker, to one of the defining faces of rebellious 80s cinema. Ally Sheedy. Born June 13, 1962, in New York City, USA. As Allison Reynolds, Ally Sheedy played the quiet outcast who barely spoke but somehow became one of the most memorable people in the room. Allison represented every teenager who felt invisible, weird, or disconnected from everyone around them. Sheedy brought vulnerability and authenticity to the role in a way that deeply resonated with audiences. During the 1980s, she became another major member of the Brat Pack, but life behind fame wasn't easy. She later opened up about struggles with mental health, body image, and addiction while navigating Hollywood pressure at a young age. Instead of letting those experiences destroy her, she eventually rebuilt her life and focused more on meaningful creative work and teaching acting. From the strange quiet girl nobody understood, to a survivor who found strength through honesty and healing. Anthony Michael Hall. Born April 14, 1968, in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. As Brian Johnson, Anthony Michael Hall became the symbol of the anxious overachiever terrified of failure. Brian was smart, awkward, emotional, and painfully desperate for approval. His breakdown scene in the library remains one of the most emotional moments in the film because so many students understood that pressure. Hall quickly became Hollywood's go-to nerdy teenager throughout the 1980s, but eventually he grew frustrated with being typecast. As he got older, he worked hard to transform his image and take on darker, more mature roles. That transition wasn't always easy, but it proved he was more than the awkward kid audiences remembered. From playing the stressed-out brain of Detention to becoming an actor determined to reinvent himself. Paul Gleason. Born May 4, 1939, in Jersey City, New Jersey, USA. As Principal Vernon, Paul Gleason became the adult every teenager feared in school. Strict, sarcastic, impatient, and emotionally disconnected, Vernon represented authority figures who had forgotten what being young actually felt like. Yet beneath his harsh behavior was also a man frustrated with his own life and responsibilities. Gleason's performance added realism to the film because every student recognized someone like him. Outside the Breakfast Club, Gleason built a long career playing authority figures, villains, and tough personalities across film and television. He remained active in Hollywood for decades before sadly passing away in 2006. From ruling Saturday Detention with intimidation to becoming one of cinema's most recognizable strict authority figures. John Capellos. Born March 8, 1956, in London, Ontario, Canada. As Carl the janitor, John Capellos surprisingly became one of the wisest characters in the movie. Even though he wasn't one of the students, Carl quietly understood all of them better than most adults did. His sarcastic humor and calm observations gave the film unexpected emotional depth. Capellos continued acting steadily in television and film for years afterward, often appearing in comedy and drama roles. While he never became a giant Hollywood celebrity, fans of 80s movies still remember him fondly because of how memorable Carl was. From quietly cleaning the school hallways to becoming one of the movie's most unexpectedly loved characters. John Hughes. Born February 18, 1950, in Lansing, Michigan, USA. Though he wasn't an actor in the movie, John Hughes was the creative genius behind The Breakfast Club. He understood teenagers in a way very few filmmakers ever did. Instead of treating young people like stereotypes, Hughes gave them real emotions, fears, insecurities, and depth. That honesty is exactly why his movies connected with millions of people around the world. During the 1980s and 1990s, he became one of the most important writers and directors in Hollywood, shaping an entire generation of coming-of-age films. Despite his massive success, Hughes eventually stepped away from Hollywood and lived a much quieter private life before passing away in 2009. From writing 5 teenagers stuck in detention to changing teen cinema forever. The Breakfast Club wasn't about detention. It was about feeling misunderstood. About pretending to be somebody else just to survive high school. And realizing that deep down, everybody's scared of something. The athlete. The rebel. The princess. The outcast. The genius. They were all struggling in different ways. And honestly, that's why people still love this movie nearly 40 years later. Because growing up never really gets easier.